soft glow of dawn broke across the valley once more, signaling the beginning of another day in Ruth's unfolding journey. Life had not magically transformed, but her heart had begun to grow steadier, strengthened by the shepherd who walked with her through every moment. The season that followed became one of quiet miracles, subtle tests, and a deepening awareness of God's constant presence. Each morning, Ruth woke before the sun, wrapped in a thin shawl, and whispered her familiar prayer. The words of Psalm 23 had become like breath to her, necessary, grounding, alive. As she whispered, "The Lord is my shepherd," she felt the weight of yesterday's fears lifting. She stepped outside into the cool morning breeze, listening to the distant sounds of nature waking up around her. The world itself felt like a reminder that she was not alone. Her days were filled with responsibilities, caring for her mother, working at the community office, and managing her small home. Yet in each task, she sensed God's gentle guidance. When stress rose, she closed her eyes and imagined the still waters David wrote about, their calmness settling her heart. Sometimes she felt overwhelmed, but she reminded herself that a shepherd never leaves his flocks scattered or abandoned. One evening after a long day at work, Ruth received news that the office project, once nearly ruined, had begun to turn around. Her careful corrections and patience had helped save it. Her supervisor pulled her aside and thanked her deeply, explaining how her calm presence had kept the team from falling apart. As he spoke, Ruth felt a quiet confirmation in her spirit. "He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake." She knew it wasn't her strength that carried her. It was God's. Meanwhile, her mother slowly regained strength, though the recovery was slow. Ruth spent countless nights praying beside her bed, whispering blessings over her, trusting that God's rod and staff would comfort them both. Her mother would often place a trembling hand on Ruth's and say, "You're stronger than you think." But Ruth knew her strength was borrowed from heaven. The valley she walked through grew darker one week when her brother lost his job unexpectedly. Panic rippled through the family, and Ruth felt her faith wavering for a brief moment. Bills were rising, uncertainty hovered over them, and the future looked fragile. But one night, while she sat alone on the porch, she felt a nudge in her heart to pray. Not desperate, fearful prayer, but prayer of trust. As she whispered Psalm 23 once again, her tears fell, but peace followed. "You prepare a table before me." She didn't understand how or when, but she believed God would provide. And then the provision came, but in small, beautiful ways. Neighbors brought meals without being asked. Someone anonymously paid for her mother's medication. Her brother found temporary work that kept them afloat. Each blessing felt like an invisible hand arranging protection and care around them. Ruth began to see that God's provision wasn't always thunderous. It was often quiet, hidden in the kindness of people. As the season continued, Ruth found her spirit growing lighter. She laughed more with her mother, prayed more intentionally, and noticed moments of beauty she once disregarded. The way sunlight broke through clouds after rain, the gentle hum of evening crickets, the peaceful rhythm of her footsteps on the road to work. She realized that God's guidance wasn't simply directional, it was relational. He wasn't only leading her somewhere. He was walking with her the entire way. The greatest shift came the night she sat under a sky scattered with stars. For the first time in months, she felt rest, deep, soul-level rest. She whispered slowly, "My cup runs over," and she meant it. Not because she had everything she wanted, but because she finally understood she had everything she needed for each day. When the season neared its end, Ruth looked back and saw how God had gently, faithfully carried her through every valley, every fear, every uncertainty. She realized she wasn't the same woman who had started this journey. Her faith had grown roots, her heart had learned trust, and her eyes now looked for God in everything around her. And on one early morning, as she stood on her porch watching the first light break the horizon, she spoke the final verse with unwavering faith. "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life." She knew it now. Not just as scripture, not just as hope, but as truth she had lived. The shepherd had been with her from the beginning, and he would walk with her forever.